Hi everyone, my name is Adriana Perretta, and I will be sharing my research on vocabulary instruction in a science classroom. This is an investigation of various teaching methods for Tier 2 vocabulary in a science classroom. This research is based on the next generation science standards, as their science lab investigations and science state assessments have a more rigorous Tier 2 vocabulary than other assessments have in the past. This rigorous Tier 2 vocabulary has proven to be a challenge for educators to teach to students. So that leads us to our research question. How does the method of delivery impact Tier 2 vocabulary retention for middle school science students? My hypothesis is based on research from Alabasi and Obanala in 2016 and 2019, respectively. They both stated that a more interactive method of vocabulary instruction is the one that is the most beneficial for the students. Because of this research, I think that the methods that are the most hands-on and the most interactive and relate most to a student's life will be the one that will be the most successful, which would likely be the project-based learning. The objective of the study is to take Tier 2 vocabulary directly from NGSS assessments and investigations and teach them in the science classroom prior to taking that assessment. This is to gain insight on which method of Tier 2 vocabulary instruction is the most successful for student retention and could also be beneficial for informing best teaching practices for educators. The participants that we chose for the study are 8th grade science students at a mid-sized suburban rural district. There will be about 60 participants in the study between 13 and 14 years of age, and it has a 50% male and 50% female population. Students that are not enrolled in the 8th grade general science will be omitted from this study, as they will not be taking the same lab investigations and the same science state assessments at the end of the year. This also becomes an issue because they are taking a completely separate course and they will not be in the same environment that the 8th grade science students will be in. The demographic is important for this because this vocabulary is frequently used on state administered assessments, and without understanding this vocabulary, this demographic of students will not be as successful on the test. We are choosing students who are in good attendance standing, having no more than 10% of school days missed prior to the investigation. This is because if a student is missing a significant amount of the intervention, the results will be skewed. For the procedure, we will be conducting it over a 6-week period of time. The participating teacher will use the first 5 weeks of this time to teach one vocabulary method each week using those vocabulary terms that we have pulled from the science assessments. At the end of each week, there will be a small Google form assessment to determine the student's retention of the vocabulary term and also their enjoyment of that technique. At the end of the 6th week, students will be assessed summatively based on all of the terms that they have learned and also with a enjoyment of which technique they like the best. This will be done through a Google form setting. The data analysis will be mixed. It will be both quantitative and qualitative. We will be using the Google Forms multiple choice settings to analyze data based on which questions were answered correctly the most often, and they will be sorted based on which teaching technique was used. Google Form auto-generates bar graphs per question that could be used to help us with this administration. Qualitative data will also be based on short answer questions that are in Google Form, and they will be coded by enjoyment of which technique the students like the most. The limitations is the final portion of this, and it is the number of participants that have been a part of this study. Because the study is only conducted in one school with solely the general science population, we have limited our study to about 60 participants. If we expanded the study to more schools or more teachers, this could be much better for collecting more accurate data. Moreover, the top 15% of academic performers were omitted from this study because they were a part of the advanced science course and not the general science course. That will also have an impact on our data.